Welcome to Medical Marijuana and Wellness. Today's topic is what is THCA? Is it a medical or a recreational product? Controversial subject, so let's dive right into it. Helping me today is Amy Green, a registered nurse with MMTC. Welcome, Amy.
Always wonderful to be here, Marc. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's dive into this interesting topic. First of all, the question is, what is THCA? And this is a diagram of the actual molecules. And what you'll notice that the THCA molecule down here is missing that oxygen component of the product, and which is the main difference between that and THC. That is actually the distinguishing characteristic between those two particular cannabinoids. Now, jumping into that, let's talk about what THCA is, in fact, what it can do. Amy, give us a little background on the medical benefits and what THCA is.
Sure. So THC is a naturally occurring part of the cannabis plant, and it stems from CBGA, which is the main cannabinoid that cannabis starts out with. And as the plant ages, it actually morphs into THCA. Now, THCA is similar to THC, but it lacks the psychoactive effects. So it's not going to give you that stoned, heady feeling that patients might experience with THC products. Additionally, THC has some really great medical benefits. It's an anti-inflammatory. It can help slow the proliferation of cancerous cells. It's an effective neuroprotectant, and it can be beneficial in the treatment of MS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and it can actually be used to help stimulate appetite in patients suffering from cachexia or anorexia.
So it has a lot of medical benefits, which is very positive. Let's talk about THC itself, referred to as Delta-9. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so Delta-9 THC is the cannabinoid that people are most familiar with when they think of the cannabis plant. This is the one that can produce psychoactive effects, so it does have the possibility of giving a patient that stoned, heady feeling. Delta-9 THC is working by activating the CB1 and CB2 receptors in the brain and throughout the body. Now, we know that THC has some really great medical benefits. It's often used for anxiety, diabetes, epilepsy, glaucoma, insomnia, appetite, muscle spasticity, amongst many, many other uses.
Sure. And it blocks the brain signals to the brain, which is really important, especially if you're dealing with pain. It's something that a lot of people seek out Delta-9 for that particular aspect. Let's talk about hemp versus marijuana. There is a difference, right?
Certainly. So both of these things are actually the cannabis plant. What separates them is the percentage of THC in the plant. Hemp is characterized by having less than 0.3% THC by dry weight, and marijuana is any cannabis containing plant with more than 0.3% THC by dry weight.
And that's a legal definition. And by that legal definition, it makes hemp legally available in the United States. And if it's under 0.3% THC, where marijuana requires a medical marijuana card and it's regulated both state and federally. That's an important distinction. And I should mention that obviously, when folks are growing cannabis, they grow it for particular reasons. And in the past, hemp has been grown for industrial purposes like rope, where cannabis has mainly been used for recreation and or for medical purposes. So let's jump into how THC is made. And really, THC comes from CBGA.
It does. So CBGA is like the starting cannabinoid that the cannabis plant starts with. And then as the plant is maturing, that CBGA is morphing into THCA. And then as heat is applied to that plant, either through fire or through another method, THCA is then converted into THC. So by adding heat, you're turning that THCA into THC.
Right. And technically, if you bought some THCA, put it in your car living here in Florida, it's a hot day and you left it there for a while, it could convert to THC.
Yes, you would have some amount of that THCA that is converting to THC with just the heat in that vehicle.
Which is one of the reasons why the controversy is there. Now, so what's the legal status? This is kind of important. Hemp, according to the Farm Bill, was in fact classified as 0.3 THC, and it's legal, isn't it, Amy?
It is, yeah. So hemp is legal in all of the United States. However, there are some states that require a medical marijuana card to purchase CBD and CBD derivative products. That would include Texas and Georgia currently.
And I think some other states are starting to look at that as well. But that legal loophole of 0.3%, and I should point out by dry weight, allows hemp seeds, flower, isolate to be sold over the counter or in a retail operation. But what's interesting is one interpretation is that THC flower can be sold because it contains less than 0.3 THC. But there's a lot of states that are trying to look at changing those regulations. And you brought up a very interesting point about the actual packaging of products.
Absolutely. So when you have a THC product and they are judging THC percentage by weight, take, for example, you have a pack of edibles. Each of those individual edibles, say, for example, weighs 1 gram each. Now, because that product weighs 1 gram, it could potentially contain up to 30 milligrams of THC in that one product. And because it's less than 0.3% by weight, that is a legal product to sell over the counter. Now, normally in Florida, state law actually maxes out edibles at 10 milligrams per dose. So if you were to find a 30 milligram THCA containing edible, it could be considerably stronger than what you would get at a normal dispensary.
Sure. So the loophole is there. It's 0.3% THC by weight. And that's why a lot of THCA products hit the market. But there's kind of an interesting problem going on. We'll discuss that in a moment. But let's talk about the benefit. Let's talk about the over-the-counter THCA products that medical marijuana patients may look at. I should point out that normally medical marijuana patients look at the cannabinoids and the terpene profiles to find out if that product addresses their condition. And Amy, isn't THCA when you purchase the product good for MS, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, right?
It is, yeah. It can help with the treatment of those conditions. But again, medical marijuana patients are trying to look for a whole plant approach. And so we're not looking for just a THC isolate. We want to look at everything about that product. So its terpene profile, its cannabinoids, but also that it was tested for all of the other residual byproducts that could be part of production.
Yeah, and that's an important product because you don't want to be taking or putting anything into your body that could contain mold, pesticides, that type of thing. And that's one of the reasons why the COAs, certificate of analysis, are really important to check when you're looking at purchasing a product. And one of the reasons that really a lot of licensed dispensaries don't sell THC as a standalone product, they usually have it contained in other products. So let's take a look for a second at the recreational use of THCA. It can be obtained right now pretty openly in retail and also online outlets as flower, rosin, tinctures, and edibles. I know I looked here where I live and found it very, very plentiful. But there really aren't any there are some state regulations for testing, but there's no federal regulations for testing because it's listed as an industrial agricultural product. This is where the rub comes into play because buyer beware. When you check those COAs, you may not find any information not only about terpenes, but also about the residual toxins, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So this example COA is from a product that was available in Florida, and the only thing that was tested was the actual cannabinoid content. And so it didn't look at the terpenes, any toxins, residual pesticides, any mycotoxins. So they weren't testing for any of the adulterants in the plant. They were only testing for the potency of the plant. So you're missing a whole lot of information about the actual safety profile of that product.
Yeah. And so when you take a look at the legal status, and again, I'm not trying to throw cold water on the recreational adult use market. I'm very much in favor of it. But I do want to point out that there are states like Florida that's introduced rules and regulations that actually look at THC and THC together, and they actually look at it by wet weight to determine if that 0.3 standard is licensed. We've seen that happening, not only Florida, but other states. Is that right?
That is correct. And using this same example COA, the total cannabinoid, which would be THC plus THCA, would actually be 27.82% for that product. So that would be significantly higher than the 0.3% allowed under federal and state law.
Right. And so, again, Florida hasn't acted as this law. Rule 5K is in place today. But also, a lot of the state and marijuana laws are changing to actually look at THC and THCA because this was a loophole when the Farm Bill was originally put together that wasn't calculated, that is being calculated now. So, what's interesting is as things change, my comment is carpe diem. If you are interested in THCA products and buying it at your local store, now's the time because there's a good chance in the next 6 months or a year that may change dramatically. Can you see that happening?
I can see more states recognizing that THC plus heat equals THC. And so I think we're going to find a lot more states that start regulating THCA along with THC.
Yeah. And again, don't shoot the messenger. All we're kind of giving you is the legal status. We recognize the benefits of THCA converting to THC in the recreational market, but the legality is going to be, let's put it this way, the supply at your local retailer is probably going to dry up over the next year. That's what I'm trying to point out. Now, let's talk a little bit about the bottom line. The Farm Bill does make over-the-counter sales of hemp legal, but THCA is a way of purchasing to get around that. But proposed laws aren't going to really change the status of THCA. So the rescheduling of cannabis to Schedule 3 doesn't really address THC. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, for right now, the rescheduling of cannabis to Schedule 3.1, that is going to be a long and arduous process that is going to take years. So even though we've heard of memos going back and forth with intentions of rescheduling cannabis, that is not going to happen for quite a while.
Right. And a lot of the hemp and state regulations, for example, the hemp laws federally that they're looking at for the hemp proposal for 2024, as well as here in Florida and other states, they're going to be changing rapidly, and they do cover THCA. I think, again, all we're doing is making people aware of the current legal situation and to have them understand the landscape of what's going on out there. But THCA is an effective medicine for a number of medical conditions like MS, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. Amy, let's talk a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about THC. Hopefully that gives people an idea of what this product is, the legal status, what it can do, and, the caveats. Again, I just want to point out that you really want to know what's in that product because I think that you want to know what you're putting in your body. You don't want any pesticides or things like that. Some of the new regulations do cover a lot more standards with respect to the COAs for over-the-counter product. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, especially in Florida. Florida is under Rule 5K was actually, they state that all products must be tested for all possible adulterants. There were over 60 different pesticides that are supposed to be tested for, amongst many other things that need to be tested for.
Sure. So anyway, it's something to take a look at. Well, listen, I do want to point out that if you're looking for patient education, check out our YouTube channel. And by the way, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. We have not only information about THCA, but also about medical marijuana products, its use, and how it works with different conditions. And if you're looking at getting a medical marijuana card, especially here in the state of Florida or Ohio or Georgia, MMTC clinics of Florida are there. Any last minute comments you want to make, Amy?
As always, if you're starting any medical cannabis products, start low, go slow, consider keeping a journal, and especially when you're considering using over-the-counter products, just make sure you know what's in your products so that you're maximizing your own safety.
Great. And I want to thank everybody for watching this. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel and also our YouTube video. And also, hopefully this gives you an idea of the status, what's going on, and a little bit of background of THCA. Thank you very much for joining us.